And now, false flags. That's the focus of tonight's angle. Now, a popular liberal on social media, Noah Smith, tweeted something this week that spoke volumes about the Democrats' political desperation. With inflation, thermostatic politics, and now a likely economic slowdown, well, Dems' best hope for the midterms is probably to use a rally round the flag appeal by bashing Russia hard and emphasizing Trumpers' ties to Putin. Not just that. Okay, if you can believe that one. They're now throwing around the T word. Because Tulsi Gabbard dared to question the rush to war mindset, Mitt Romney got very angry. Tulsi Gabbard is parroting false Russian propaganda. Her treasonous lies may well cost lives. And the media echo chamber, of course, followed suit.
We are now seeing a term that I never thought I'd see in my life. Fifth columnist. People who are deliberately working to undermine the American structure.
Really close to treason.
I think DOJ should look into people who are Russian propagandists and shilling for Putin.
Well, they say that patriotism is the last refuge of a scoundrel, but this is really despicable. Now, who needs comedy when you have these people trying to claim a monopoly on patriotic fervor over the Ukraine invasion, when for the past 2 years, they've insisted that America is systemically racist? Now, Biden's own UN ambassador believes our very founding is steeped in wickedness.
We have to acknowledge that we are an imperfect union. The original sin of slavery weaved white supremacy into our founding documents and principles.
Biden, the Secretary of State, he agrees.
We know we have work to do at home. That includes addressing profound inequities, including systemic racism.
And our own vice president went even further.
Racism is real in America, and it has always been. Xenophobia is real in America, and always has been. Sexism, too.
I love how she throws that in at the end. And of course, Biden just reads whatever they put in front of him, not realizing the constant America bashing hurts his credibility and his authority at home and abroad.
Racism, the ugly poison that has long haunted and plagued our nation. The systemic racism is a stain on our nation's soul. The knee on the neck of justice for Black Americans.
Now wait, according to them, ours is a nation with a stain on its soul. It's structurally racist, it's xenophobic, and the sexist thing. So how on earth could that America be the savior for any other country in distress? And by the way, the farce gets better. Now they're even extending their treason narrative to anyone who points out the fact that gas prices have been rising way before Putin went into Ukraine.
They are blaming Biden for rising gas prices. Meanwhile, guess who gets off scot-free? Not just Putin, but the big oil and gas companies.
And to not blame Putin, first of all, is denying reality. And second, frankly, I think is un-American.
Now, the people now using Putin's inhumane war to demand endless sacrifice from the taxpayers, and then those people questioning other people's patriotism? Now, they're the same ones who've spent a lifetime doing enormous damage to the fabric of America. Now, their policies sent millions of jobs in our industrial base to Asia, imported 20 million illegal aliens into the United States. Their policies raised crime rates, turned our schools into propaganda institutes, and toppled our history.
In Baltimore, in Little Italy, the statue of Christopher Columbus was removed.
Well, I'm not a bit, you know, I don't even have my grandmother's earrings. I'm not one of those people who's wedded to, a statue. I don't care that much about statues. People will do what they do.
Till they build a statue of her, she doesn't care about the statues. Well, of course, people are going to do what they're going to do, and they did. They burned cities. They held neighborhoods hostage. They threatened ordinary Americans who didn't chant their slogans or post supportive comments on social media. And the elites, all the while, gave them cover.
A way to end violence and brutality and to make sure that people understand that Black Lives Matter.
Please, show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
But now, we're supposed to take our patriotic cues from people like them? No thanks. They will defame you, they'll censor you, they'll send your jobs overseas, and yet now they want you to jump on Biden's bandwagon for the war that they'll never officially get declared in Congress. Now, this is one of the most dishonest attempts to turn the tables the Angle has witnessed in ages. And they know in their hearts it's not working.
So far, Biden hasn't received any of the political capital that President Zelensky has offered him.
At the end of the day, we still remain an incredibly polarized country. That you're not going to give President Biden any credit at all, even if you like what his administration is doing.
Well, Biden got no real bump from the State of the Union, and he's not getting much now. That's because Americans, they do feel terrible, awful about Ukraine. But they also feel terrible about a lot of what's happening to their own country. A new poll out that the press is feverishly trying to spin as good news for Biden really isn't, at least not when you actually give people the relevant facts. When Yahoo News and YouGov asked half of respondents whether they support or oppose U.S. troops enforcing a no-fly zone over Ukraine with no added context, supporters, 40%, outnumbered opponents, 25%. Okay. But what happened when the other half of the respondents were told that a no-fly zone means that we could actually shoot down a Russian plane, possibly trigger even a war between the U.S. and Russia? Well, then support plummeted by nearly half to 23%, while opposition to that almost doubled to 43%. And the biggest shift came among Republicans, who went from supporting a no-fly zone by a 22-point margin to opposing it by a 38-point margin. Wow, facts really do matter. So are all those Americans? Are they selfish? Are they pro-Putin traitors? Now, how many of those virtue signaling with their Ukraine flag emojis are actually uncomfortable with the enthusiastic flying of the American flag themselves?
But how to separate Americanness, America, from whiteness. I was on Long Island this weekend visiting a really dear friend, and I was really disturbed. I saw, dozens and dozens of pickup trucks with, explicatives, Trump flags, and some cases just dozens of American flags, which is also just disturbing because essentially the message was clear. It was, this is my country. This is not your country. I own this.
Wow. Well, we tried to warn the Democrats that they were making a huge mistake by going so far to the left, but they wouldn't listen. But now, the day of liberation is coming. We're going to have an election on the first Tuesday of this November, and then another in 2 years. And we'll finally be rid of these fools. And until then, we have to do everything in our legal power to protect and conserve what we still have in America. We don't want American troops dying for an undeclared war. We certainly don't want to keep spending money we don't have. And we don't want America used as a base to boost multinational organizations and the CCP. And we certainly don't feel obliged to join their false flag patriotism. The establishment bet on the international order and against the American people. Now, the American people are going to give them their comeuppance. And that's the angle.